Now, it sounds like they are introducing a scouting department for overseas players. We are talking to all players, doing exit interviews, obviously focused on development too. Now, from my understanding, they did not have an overseas scouting department. Now, both domestically and internationally.
The Indiana Fever have the biggest star in basketball, a generational talent who rewrites record books and sells out arenas. But after an injury-plagued second season, the clock on Caitlin Clark's championship window is already ticking.
The biggest storyline going into this offseason is going to be Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever 2026 team. I told y'all, I'm sick of playing. We need to damn near solidify us a championship. We need superstars on this team. I'm tired of mediocre role players.
And for general manager Amber Cox, the situation is far more dire than anyone realizes. Because while the Fever were fighting their way to the semifinals, a perfect storm was gathering. A storm that could wipe their entire roster off the map in a matter of months. This isn't a story about rebuilding. This is a story about a desperate, high-stakes gamble to build a super team before it's too late.
We need superstar players. This is the make or break year for the WNBA as a whole. See, Caitlin Clark fandom was at an all-time high at 23 and 24. But more importantly, the damn WNBA referees hella derailed it.
To understand the sheer desperation facing the Fever front office, you have to understand that they aren't just dealing with one problem. They're facing a three-headed monster, an unprecedented convergence of crises set to hit all at once. The 2025-2026 WNBA offseason is poised to be the most transformative and chaotic period in the league's history. For the Indiana Fever, this isn't a distant threat, it's an existential one.
So core is like what they did with Kelsey Mitchell last year. I'm pretty sure they're going to core her again. The WNBA without needing 4 years of college. I never knew that. See, y'all, I'm new to this, so I didn't know that you need 4 years of college to even play in the W, which is crazy.
The team's surprising success in the 2025 playoffs, where they pushed the powerhouse Las Vegas Aces to 5 games in the semifinals without a healthy Caitlin Clark, has paradoxically created a strategic nightmare for GM Amber Cox. This success was built on the backs of veteran players who dramatically increased their market value, just as their contracts are set to expire. This dynamic means that the very grit and resilience that defined the 2025 team makes it exponentially more expensive and difficult to retain them, forcing Cox into a series of impossible decisions. First, there's the roster apocalypse. After a season that exceeded all expectations, nearly the entire core of that team is about to hit free agency. We're not talking about losing 1 or 2 role players. We're talking about a potential mass extinction event. Kelsey Mitchell, the all-WNBA scorer who carried the offense, Natasha Howard, the veteran forward, Sophie Cunningham, the tough-as-nails shooter, Odyssey Sims, the guard who stepped up huge in the playoffs, Brianna Turner, Aerial Powers, Ari McDonald. The list goes on and on. All of them are unrestricted free agents, free to sign with any team they choose. The only foundational pieces truly locked in for 2026 are Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. Everyone else could simply walk away, leaving the Fever's 2 young stars standing in the rubble of a team that was just on the brink of the WNBA Finals. Second, there's CBA Armageddon, the league's collective bargaining agreement. The contract that governs everything from player salaries to free agency rules expires on October 31, 2025. The players have opted out and they are not backing down. They are demanding a fair share of the revenue they've helped generate, and they are fully prepared for a league-wide lockout to get it. Listen to the players themselves. Fever guard Sophie Cunningham said, quote, "I promise you that we're not going to play until they give us what we deserve, and a lockout is where this is headed." Chicago Sky star Angel Reese was just as blunt. "I'm hearing if y'all don't give us what we want, we sitting out." This isn't just posturing. This uncertainty freezes the entire league. No new CBA means no new salary cap, no new contract rules, and no ability for Amber Cox to sign anyone until the dispute is resolved, putting her entire team-building timeline in jeopardy. The core of the CBA dispute is the players' demand for a revenue-sharing model akin to the NBA's, where players receive roughly 50% of basketball-related income. Currently, WNBA players receive a share estimated to be under 10%. With a new media rights deal set to inject over $200 million annually into the league, the players argue the financial landscape has fundamentally changed. Owners, however, are reportedly arguing that a 50-50 split could threaten the league's sustainability, citing high operating costs like chartered flights and other amenities that eat up a large portion of revenue. This fundamental disagreement over the worth of the players is the primary driver behind the lockout threat, creating a paralyzing environment for front offices trying to plan for the future. And the third head of the monster? The expansion draft piranhas. As if a roster apocalypse and a potential lockout weren't enough, the WNBA is adding 2 new teams in 2026, the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. To build their rosters, they will hold an expansion draft. The rule is simple and brutal. Every existing team, including the Fever, can only protect 6 players from being poached. With 2 hungry new franchises picking from the talent pool, the Fever are guaranteed to lose a valuable player. Amber Cox has to decide which piece of her already disintegrating roster she's willing to sacrifice. This isn't just an offseason, it's a minefield, and one wrong step could set the Caitlin Clark era back for years. In the face of this chaos, every word from the front office is scrutinized. And when it comes to the Fever's biggest free agent, All-WNBA guard Kelsey Mitchell, GM Amber Cox has been relentlessly on message. She's made her position crystal clear. At her end-of-season press conference, Cox stated, quote, "I'm gonna sound like a broken record from last year. The priority will be Kelsey Mitchell and making sure she remains in a Fever jersey." She went on to praise Mitchell's tremendous season where she was an MVP finalist and earned All-WNBA first-team honors while carrying the team in Clark's absence. Publicly, the message is one of unwavering loyalty. Kelsey Mitchell is presented as a cornerstone, a non-negotiable part of the future alongside Clark and Boston, but while the GM was promising loyalty, the player herself was sending a very different signal. In a heartfelt, emotional end-of-season Instagram post reflecting on a difficult year, Mitchell ended her message with 2 cryptic, chilling words, "Zero gone. Zero gone." It reads like a farewell, a conclusion, the end of a chapter. And the speculation exploded when Caitlin Clark herself replied in the comments, not with a "see you next season," but with a message that felt like a goodbye. "So lucky to be her teammate. Proud of a Kels." Suddenly, the front office's clear priority seemed anything but. This public-facing contradiction between the general manager and the star player is the first clue to the real strategy at play. Amber Cox's broken record statement is not a simple promise. It is a calculated piece of strategic communication designed to maximize her leverage in a situation where she has very little. First, by declaring Mitchell the top priority, Cox controls the public narrative. If Mitchell re-signs, the front office looks competent and loyal. If Mitchell leaves, Cox can frame the departure as the player's choice, shielding the organization from criticism by saying, "We made her our top priority, but she chose to move on." Second, this public posture is essential for maintaining leverage with the core designation. The core tag gives a team exclusive negotiating rights with one of its own unrestricted free agents, preventing them from signing elsewhere. By acting as if she fully intends to re-sign Mitchell, Cox keeps the threat of the core tag credible. This forces other teams to negotiate a sign-and-trade if they want Mitchell, ensuring the Fever get assets in return, rather than losing an all-WNBA player for nothing. Therefore, Cox's statement is a strategic smokescreen. It's the opening move in a high-stakes negotiation, designed to keep all options on the table, re-signing Mitchell, orchestrating a sign-and-trade, or even letting her walk to free up cap space for a bigger prize. It's not about what she will do, it's about making sure she can do whatever is necessary for the larger plan. So if the public statements are a smokescreen, what is the real plan? It's a plan so audacious, so risky. It could either build a dynasty or blow up the franchise. It's a 4-step blueprint to turn this perfect storm of crises into the perfect opportunity to build a super team around Caitlin Clark. Step 1 is simple. The entire plan is built on 2 non-negotiable assets, Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. They are the suns around which this new solar system must orbit. Clark is the offensive engine and marketing phenom who has lifted the entire league. Boston is the defensive anchor, a multiple-time All-Star and the perfect interior partner for a perimeter supernova like Clark. Their futures in Indiana are the only thing that is certain. Step 2 is where the cold calculations begin. The protect 6 inches rule for the expansion draft forces a brutal choice. With Clark and Boston locked in, Amber Cox has only 4 protection slots left for a roster full of deserving veterans. This is the impossible mass she faces. But here's the twist. The expansion draft isn't just a threat to be survived, it's a tool to be wielded. By intentionally leaving a veteran on a larger expiring contract, like an Odyssey Sims or Brianna Turner, unprotected, Cox can essentially use the draft as a passive way to clear salary off her books. If Toronto or Portland takes the bait, she sheds cap space without the negative PR of cutting a player who just helped the team to the semifinals. This is the masterstroke. This is where the plan goes from pragmatic to predatory. While other teams are paralyzed by the CBA uncertainty, Amber Cox's plan relies on it. The current WNBA salary cap is a hard cap of just over $1.5 million. It is incredibly restrictive, making it impossible to build a true super team. But the new CBA, fueled by a media rights deal worth over $200 million a year, is projected to cause a salary cap explosion. Analysts predict the new cap could more than double, landing somewhere between $4 and $5 million per team. This is the Great Reset. And Amber Cox's desperate plan is to intentionally let her successful 2025 roster disintegrate to create maximum financial flexibility, right at the moment the salary cap triples. This is the core of the high-risk, high-reward strategy. The 2025 Fever roster, while good, was constructed under the financial limitations of the old CBA. Attempting to re-sign all of their key free agents at their new higher market values under the massively increased 2026 salary cap would be a strategic blunder. It would consume all of the new cap space just to maintain the status quo, preventing the addition of the elite third star needed to truly contend for a championship. Instead, the plan appears to be to leverage the league-wide chaos of the CBA negotiations. By having a clear objective and a mountain of cap space, while other GMs are scrambling to understand the new rules, Cox can become the single most aggressive and powerful player in the 2026 free agent market. In this context, letting popular veterans walk is not a failure. It is a feature, not a bug. It is a calculated and ruthless shedding of the old roster to build a new one perfectly engineered for the new financial reality of the WNBA. With a war chest of cap space, Cox can finally go shopping for the missing pieces. The 2026 WNBA free agent class is historically stacked, a direct result of players signing short-term deals in anticipation of this very moment. The Fever's most glaring need is a versatile, scoring, defensive-minded wing to form a true big three with Clark and Boston. This is their hit list. At the top is Satu Sabali from the Phoenix Mercury, the perfect piece. She's a 6'4" all-NBA wing who can defend multiple positions, create her own shot, and shoot the three. She fills the Fever's biggest positional need and would form a terrifying, versatile big three. Then there's Azura Stevens from the Los Angeles Sparks, a seamless upgrade. She's a stretch forward whose elite three-point shooting is the perfect complement to Aliyah Boston's interior game, giving Clark even more room to operate. Of course, there's the dream scenario, two-time MVP Breanna Stewart. It's a long shot, but if the New York Liberty's star-studded roster breaks up, Stewart is the ultimate prize who would make the Fever an instant championship favorite. And finally, the unrivaled wild card, Nafisa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx. As a co-founder of the unrivaled league and a powerful voice in the players' union, if she seeks a new challenge on a bigger stage, pairing with the force of Caitlin Clark would create an absolute juggernaut. This is the anatomy of the plan. A plan born of desperation, but executed with cold, calculated logic. But is it genius, or is it insanity? The risks are catastrophic. This entire strategy hinges on factors completely outside of Amber Cox's control. A prolonged lockout could delay or even cancel the 2026 season, wasting another precious year of Caitlin Clark's rookie-scale contract and stalling all momentum. There's also no guarantee that any of these superstars will choose to sign with Indiana. Cox could execute the plan perfectly, clearing the decks and creating a mountain of cash, only to be left at the altar when free agents choose to sign elsewhere. This would leave her with a dangerously depleted roster around her two young stars. And finally, there's the double-edged sword of the Caitlin Clark effect. The unprecedented attention on the Fever makes them an attractive destination, but it also magnifies every failure. Viewership numbers remain strong even with Clark injured, proving the spotlight isn't dimming. If this gamble fails, it will fail on the biggest stage in women's sports. So what is Amber Cox's plan? Is it a desperate, panicked reaction to a roster about to fall apart? Or is it a cold, calculated, and brilliant strategy to weaponize the single most chaotic offseason in WNBA history? She is betting everything on the idea that in the new WNBA, you don't rebuild brick by brick. You wait for the earthquake, and then you build a skyscraper on the ruins. The risk is catastrophic failure, but the reward is a dynasty. The question is, will her gamble pay off? What do you think? Is this plan genius or insane? Let us know in the comments below.